Welcome back to another episode of He Bakes, He Cooks. I'm your host, Fred, and today we're going to be doing a nice menu. We got a chicken and turkey stuffed meatloaf with some bacon parmesan, Brussels sprouts, and some smashed potatoes. And for dessert, we're going to do a chocolate chip pound cake. So let's go ahead and get started. So I already got the oven heating to 350 degrees. And we're going to start with our bacon. I'm just going to put that on a bacon sheet here. And I am using some thick sliced bacon that's hardwood smoked. I picked this up at Aldi's. And to make things, to clean up a little bit easier, I'm going to line the bacon sheet with some parchment paper. And I'm just going to adjust the camera a little bit so you guys can see the countertop. Alright, so what I do to keep my parchment paper from curling up is I just kind of preset a couple of times. And I pretty much use the whole pack of bacon. And when you putting the bacon on the parchment sheet, don't worry about if the slices are touching each other or overlapping just a little bit. If I had more time, I would just throw this whole thing on without spreading them out at all. However, I'm getting a little late start today. I'm not gonna lie, I've been procrastinating on filming today. Now if you want an extra little razzle dazzle, I will put some, I've done a number of different things. I've spread some maple syrup over the bacon before baking it. I've done honey, and I've done Applewood smoked rub by McCormick. Alright, so then we're just going to bake this in the oven until it's to your liking. I would say probably about 15 to 20 minutes. Now while that's going, we're going to go ahead and get started on the pound cake because that takes probably the longest to cook. Yeah, I'll say that takes the longest. So I already have most of my ingredients measured out here. I'm just going to grab the stand mixer. Alright, so before any of the cake Nazis decide to jump down my throat, I don't have my paddle attachment. I don't know what happened to it. I've since moved since I lost it. So I don't know where it's at. I'm ordering another one. Okay. Alright, so with that out the way, we're going to go ahead and start by putting our butter into the stand mixer. The butter should be room temperature when you start. And this is a basic, this is starting off as a basic pound cake recipe. So we're starting with 3 sticks of butter. And we're going to cream that with 3 cups of sugar. Alright, I'm going to let the butter cream up a little bit before I put the sugar in. Alright, so to that we're going to add the 3 cups of sugar. grab a spatula. While that's going, I'm also start cracking my eggs. So you need 5 room temperature eggs. If you didn't see my previous video, I cracked the eggs into the cup to avoid eggshells. So that's 3 eggs. Alright, so we're going to add them one at a time, let them get incorporated. Oh, that was 2. Let that go for a moment. So that's all 5 eggs. I'm going to start with half a teaspoon of salt. Half a teaspoon of baking powder. We're going to add our flour a little bit at a time. We got 3 cups. Grab the chocolate chips. While I was grabbing the chocolate chips, I thought of something else I could add to it that'll make it really nice. I'm going to add some pecans. Now the base of this recipe is found all over the internet. I think my mom is the one that taught me how to do a pound cake. Yep. I'm going to do about a cup of pecans. I'm going to add those towards the end. So far that's 2 cups of flour. teaspoon of coconut extract and a half a teaspoon of lemon extract, and then a whole teaspoon of vanilla extract. Continue with our flour. Now, when you check out the blog for this week's episode, I want you to be aware that the other recipes that we're going to do today are my own. They are not anything I found on the internet. These are all things that I just kind of developed as I was cooking in the kitchen. Partially because at one point I was trying keto, and when keto wasn't, I realized keto really wasn't my thing. I had to do some other things to help with diabetes. So that's where they came from for me. I'm going to do about a cup of chocolate chips. This is a half cup measure, so when you see me doing it twice, that's why. Alright, we don't waste food, so we're going to use these that fell as well. We're going to mix those in. And as far as me adding the pecans and the chocolate chips, this is just me being creative. There's no particular recipe I saw these in. I will link a basic pound cake recipe so you can have that. Other than that, this is all mine. Let that mix for another minute or so. Alright, I'm going to grab a pan and put this in. I'm just going to take a spatula and get this whisk clean. Alright, so just going to take some nonstick spray here and make sure I spray the inside of the pan really good. Now, a great alternative to something like this pan is cake goo, something you can make at home. Alright, I'm just going to give this a good stir from the bottom, just to make sure that there's nothing stuck on the bottom that the whisk missed. In addition to the link for the basic pound cake recipe that I'm going to share with you, I'm going to also share my adaptations with the pecans and the chocolate chips. All right. Just try to spread that evenly around without disturbing the spray on the sides. Then we're going to put this in the oven and let it bake for an hour. Now, I usually put a pan under it so that if it decides to ooze out the bottom, because this is one of the pans that has the bottom that lift up, or for some reason my measurements were off and it decided to overflow, then I have something to catch that, so it's not burning in the oven. Alright, so while we wait for the cake and the bacon to finish, we're going to go ahead and get started on the meatloaf. So again, this is a chicken and turkey meatloaf. So I'm using a pound of ground chicken and a pound of ground turkey. So we're just going to dump that in there. And then as far as seasoning, we're going to do some Italian seasoning, a little bit of ginger, a little turmeric, some seasoning salt, garlic powder, onion powder, and black pepper. And then for our vegetables, we're going to do a half a red onion, you can see here I got a green, yellow, and red bell pepper. We're only going to do about a quarter to a third of each. And then you want to dice them up. If your knife skills are not the best like mine, do the best you can to dice them up. Point is, you don't want to have huge chunks. Then we're going to do the same thing with the bell pepper. My little bell pepper monster is running around here waiting for something to fall, so he gets the tops of the bell peppers. Probably can hear the pitter patter of his little paws running away with the bell pepper. You know what? I was supposed to take some pictures of the cake as I went through the different steps, and I didn't. And I'm realizing that now as I done started assembling the meatloaf. promise y'all I'm gonna get better at this. Let me grab my phone. I'll be back. Alright, so the bacon is done, so I pulled that out. We're gonna go ahead and let that cool off. I'm gonna add a cup of panko bread crumbs to this. And then we're gonna do 2 eggs. Oh, dang it. Thankfully it's 3 in here. Alright, there's our eggs. I'm gonna clean that up and I'll be right back. And that's why I believe in cleaning as I go, because if I had left that, I don't know how bad my floors will look after my dog finished. Okay, so now we got everything in the bowl. So we're going to go ahead and mix it up. If you have gloves, you can use gloves. I don't have any gloves right now. And because it's just for me, I'm not worried about it. So yes, I'm going to use my hands to mix this up. And the way I came up with this recipe was about 8 years ago. I was just curious. I was like, I don't think I've ever heard of anybody making a chicken and turkey meatloaf. So I made it in little muffin pans then, because that way I was like, maybe if I don't like it, it's not a big waste. I can take the rest of it and give it to my mom or somebody that will probably enjoy it. But I liked it, and I've been making it ever since. It was one of the hot items on my menu when I was doing meal preps for clients. My best friend loved it, especially with the way I stuffed the mozzarella cheese in the center. Alright, so I got everything pretty well mixed. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab a loaf pan and get it formed. Alright, so I'm just using the loaf pan to form the meatloaf. So I am going to line the loaf pan with some parchment paper. And I'm using 2 sheets just to make sure I have enough coverage. I'm going to put about half of the mixture in the bottom. Now I did wash my hands in between this. If you have everything set up, if I had everything set up, and I could just grab things with my clean hand, I probably wouldn't have stopped in between to wash, since I'm just using my hands. Now you can also use a spoon or a spatula to help you with forming. I just chose not to. Don't know why, but I did. But here's why I should have, because now I gotta wash my hands before I touch anything else, so I don't cross-contaminate the kitchen. Because the next step is to cut the block of cheese. I'm just going to cut it down the middle. quite even, but that's okay. Then we just want to pop this down in the middle. And then use the rest of the mixture to cover it up. I'm just smashing it into the corners and into the crevices of the paper. There's no real rhyme or reason doing things the way I'm doing them. In fact, I've formed this without even using a loaf pan before, and I've also done it in like a glass Pyrex dish. It's all about what you desire. In the words of dear Auntie Tam Brown, and that's your business. Alright, so we're just going to get a sheet pan, a baking sheet, and I'm going to line that with parchment paper as well. And then we're just going to dump this out. Kind of like that. And we're just going to get rid of the parchment paper. And then we're going to put this in the oven to bake. Chicken and turkey don't take nearly as long as beef to cook, so I would say check on it in about 20 minutes and go from there. Alright, so next we're going to get started on our Brussels sprouts. I gotta get a better camera set up so you guys can see the entire counter. I got 2 bags of Brussels sprouts here. I'm going to just take them and cut them in half. So this is a lot of Brussels sprouts here, and I'm sure you guys don't want to watch me just stand here and cut Brussels sprouts. So I'm going to finish cutting these, and then I will be right back to you to show you the next step. Alright, so at this point I got all the Brussels sprouts cut up, so and our bacon should be cooled down a little bit, enough to handle the pan. You don't want it so cold that the bacon has solidified, the fat has solidified. So you want to take that bacon grease, just pour it over the Brussels sprouts. I'm going to let that drain down in between those Brussels sprouts for a second. While that goes, I'm going to remove the bacon from this parchment paper because we're going to use the same sheet of parchment paper. Alright, I'm going to set this to the side for a moment. Now back to our Brussels sprouts. We're going to add some seasoning salt, some black pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. We're just keeping it real simple. And we'll get us a toss. I want to try to get this those seasonings evenly distributed, as well as that bacon grease. If you don't have enough bacon grease, you can always use a little bit of avocado oil. And of course, you can adjust the spices as you need to. All right, so now we're gonna take this, bring our pan back. I'm just gonna dump these on the pan. Get all the little sparks that's in here. All right, you just wanna kind of spread this out evenly as possible. We're gonna put this in that same 350 oven just until the Brussels sprouts are fork tender. I'm gonna cook these up and then I will be right back to show you the next step. Now the potatoes, that's the easy part. So potatoes, I got 2 bags of these little baby potatoes. It's a mix of Yukon Gold. What does it say? Do it say on here? I'm just looking at them. No, it don't say on here, but I believe these are Yukon Golds and Baby Reds. Now, I did, when I got them home, I did wash them in the net. They were already pretty clean, but I went ahead and gave them a nice little rinse, I should say. I'm just going to add these to the bowl. Like I said, these are really simple. I'm going to take a couple tablespoons of avocado oil and just drizzle it over there. About 4 tablespoons enough to coat them all, and so that they don't burn or stick. And then I'm going to add our seasonings, keeping it real simple with some black pepper, seasoning salt, and some dry spice rub. Now the dry spice rub is another one of those that I made myself. It's not one I found in the store. So like the buffalo spice rub that I had in a previous video, I'm considering whether or not I'm going to even make these available going forward. If you guys make enough noise, that will encourage me to do so. Alright, so we're just going to mix these up, and I probably should use a bigger bowl because you can see this bowl is pretty full. But you mix them up, and then you put them on a spread, a baking sheet. I'm just going to use this one right here because it's already lined with some parchment paper. And like the Brussels sprouts, you want them to be spread out as evenly as possible, nothing overlapping. I'm just going to use my spoon to get the rest of the oil and the spices out. Then you bake these up until they're fork tender. You want to make sure that they're fork tender for the next part. Alright, I'll be back. Alright, so it's been about 45 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and pull the meatloaf out. Alright, so we got one more step on the meatloaf, and that is to add tomato sauce. I'm just using an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce. I'm going to drizzle it across the top. I have 2 here, but we probably only need 1. Yep, one is more than enough. You don't have to get all the sides covered. I'm just doing that to use all the sauce and not waste any. All right. So then we're gonna put it back in the oven for about another 10 to 15 minutes, just to let that tomato sauce cook a little bit.
Damaris, I said you can use it. I didn't say you can keep it. Why would you take my block to work? So now I gotta go get the spare block out of the spare charger that I have in my drawer. And I don't have to take out my work charger. So now I'm down to just a spare cord.
All right, so it's been about 20 minutes, so we're gonna go ahead and pull the meatloaf back out. All right, that's the meatloaf. Gonna let that cool down a little bit before we open it up, or cut it open rather. And the cake should be almost done.
If she don't find a place before I leave, the last thing I'm gonna do to help her will be that I'll notify my landlord when I'm ready. You know, I'm leaving in August, so I probably need to notify them June, July. Yeah, I probably need to notify them no later than the end of June.
All right.
Not planning on renewing my lease, and I'm moving.
All right, so the Brussels sprouts are done, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next step. And take them off this pan, dump them in the bowl. Oh shoot! Just gonna mix all this together. And that's about it for this. All right, so the potatoes are 4 tenders, so we're gonna go ahead and pull them out and smash them. I'm just gonna use a glass to smash them. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and pull out the potatoes now. Everything should be done. Ooh. Ooh. All right, the potatoes are done. We'll go ahead and plate everything up. picture here. It's gonna take a couple potatoes. Then we'll go ahead and put this in the bowl right away for storage. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna wait so I can pack my lunch for the next couple days. So I'm gonna go ahead and put all these on one pan. All right. Get our Brussels sprouts here. And then our meatloaf. Now there won't be a cheese pour because I have been doing other things while I was waiting on different things to cook. So the meatloaf is a little colder than what it would have been. But there you have it. And I'm waiting on the cake to finish cooling, and then I'll come back and come down here so y'all can see me. I'm waiting on the cake to finish cooling, and I'll come back and plate that up with the glaze. Alright, so the cake is completely cooled, so we're going to go ahead and throw our glaze on it. And this glaze was a really simple glaze. I made it with chocolate chips and some heavy cream. And the glaze is actually kind of cooled off too, so it's not running like most people expect glaze to do. I don't really want it to be thick anyway, or you know. Or maybe you don't know, but I don't want a whole lot of glaze in each bite. That's what I'm trying to say. Just got a little running down the center. A little drizzle down the sides. You ain't gotta be pretty. All right. Cut up a little piece. Hit a nut. Up. And cut through that pecan. There we go. Part of it is I did overcook it a little bit, but I wanted to make sure the center was done. But it's good. This is definitely good. And that's going to be it for this episode of He Cooks, He Bakes. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe on this video, as well as go over to the blog and get the recipes. Have any questions or concerns, I'm always here to answer. Until the next episode, I'm Fred.